Hello. Recently, I returned from my hometown in Texas, and now I'm going to tell all of you guys a story. I'll start off by saying I'm really not a picky person. In fact, I think I'm particularly reasonable and forgiving. So, if I'm complaining about a company, they really must have screwed up. Okay, my journey to America was I think it was the worst flight I ever had. So, let's get started. I had not visited home in 3 years because of all the COVID restrictions. I was excited to be able to go to America and finally take care of business that needed to be taken care of for some time. My flight was scheduled on Saturday at 4:20 p.m. I had worked Monday through Friday, and Friday night rolled around. I was mentally preparing and getting excited for my flight the next day. That's when my troubles began. My long chain of troubles. I received an email Friday night from Delta that my flight had been delayed until 9:15 p.m. That's like 5 hours later. Great, right? And unfortunately, that causes me to miss my connecting flight from Minneapolis. So I need to reschedule. Graciously, I'm able to do that for free online. So I clicked the reschedule button and go to my Delta account. For some odd reason, the system is only letting me search 1 hour at a time. I shit you not. I searched hour by hour. It's hard to explain unless you see it, and I searched hour by hour, before and after my original flight time. Each and every time, the computer told me that there are no flights available. It also let me search other airports that are nearby, somewhat nearby my original final destination. And still, the message that no flights are available kept popping up. And I noticed something odd, and maybe, dare I say, intentionally malicious, I suspect. It appeared that this machine was searching for my entire itinerary. It was only searching for the first flight, a new first flight at a different time, which it kept telling me there is none. There was no alternative to my first flight departing from Tokyo. And it just did not consider, the machine did not consider, and there was no button to tell it to consider. It was not considering a later connecting flight. So, And my vacation time is limited. I am on vacation. I want to take the earliest flight possible from Tokyo. And the earliest possible, according to this computer, was 9:15 p.m. So I reluctantly messaged the help desk, and I started messaging a worker named Tintan or something like that. Now this is when things get interesting. I explained the situation to Tintin, and she claimed that there are no other available flights from Minneapolis if I take the 9:15 p.m. flight from Tokyo. Really? That kind of sounds too bad to be true, especially for a major airline. She also said that she checked other airlines and airports and then had the audacity to claim that the only alternative option was to fly out of Tokyo on Monday. On Monday. I'm supposed to leave on Saturday. That's way too late, I responded. And it's actually pretty heartbreaking to hear that, because with my limited vacation time, I only had about 1 week in America. I had about 9 days off in total. It takes like a whole day to get to my family, to fly across the ocean and to transfer, and then get picked up and then drive somewhere. It takes like a whole damn day just to get over there. And it's really not enough time to be worth $2,000 or so required just to fly home, my childhood home, that I could not visit for 3.5 years due to COVID crap. So I'm just devastated at this point, and I don't actually buy that bullshit, Maybe old people would, people who don't know anything about traveling, they probably would just not be able to handle such a situation. So I searched myself on delta.com, not with the reschedule button under my account, but I went into the website, in a new tab, using it as if I'm buying a brand new ticket for the first time. And lo and behold, there is another flight departing Minneapolis the next day. And even though it's the next day, I would still arrive at my final destination earlier than if I take the flight out of Tokyo on Monday. So maybe Tintin just assumed I was stupid or ignorant or something, or that I wouldn't notice. But I'm pretty sure they just did not want me to take the next flight from Minneapolis because it was the next day, and that would mean the company would be obligated to reimburse a hotel. And they don't want me to do that, right? So, by default, the system and Tin Can only considered searching for a later Tokyo flight. So next, I called Tintin out on her bullshit. Oh, really? There's no other Minneapolis flight available in that time frame? Oh, what about flight DL, whatever the numbers were? I'm looking at right now, bitch. And she said calmly, oh, I see the flight that you're talking about. And just so I'm not screwed, I directly asked her, if I book that flight, where will I stay that night? And she replied that I can apply for a reimbursement after booking a hotel or talk to a red coat Delta worker for a voucher. And I wasn't sure what a Delta red coat was. I'd never heard of that before, but I sure the hell prefer to get a hotel voucher rather than trusting that they actually will reimburse me if I book it myself. And I wisely took a picture of the conversation as evidence that a Delta worker claimed that I should be able to get my hotel expenses covered. Even though the new flight from Minneapolis was listed on the Delta website, the airplane was a SkyWest airplane. And it somehow collaborated with Delta, administered by Delta, and even had a DL, Delta flight number. And you know how airlines are often so interconnected. Everyone has heard of Delta, I think. But what the heck is SkyWest? I've never heard of that before. Is it LLC? Is it low-cost carrier? Is it some rare ghetto airline? I don't know. At the same time, I wanted to book the flight before anyone else does, because my time is precious. Spending time with family is precious. So I asked her, damn near begged her, if she could just hold the flight for me while I search about it more. Search about whatever the hell SkyWest is more. And she said that's not possible. So according to my quick Google search, it's a safe airline. So fuck it. I said, please book it. And she said, okay, please wait. And now I'm sitting here with anticipation, waiting And she said, "It'll take a minute, but please wait." Finally, after a few minutes, she replies back to me that there's an error when she tried to book it. And that she needs to transfer me to someone else, to a different department. Of course, you know how this always happens. So she transferred me to Carol. And fortunately, Carol was much more knowledgeable. However, with my anxiety high, the first thing Carol said was, "Please wait while I read through your previous conversation with Tintin." So finally, I was able to book the flight successfully. And my story's not over yet. No. It's actually far from over, if you can believe that. We're just getting started. I thanked Carol and ended the conversation. And it was now Friday night. I went to sleep. I was frustrated by my experience, but then it was time to think positively, and I tried to look on the bright side. I had never been to Minneapolis before, and I have a day to explore it. I looked at Google Maps and noticed the Mall of America was there, and it's not too far from the airport, and there is public transportation to it that exists, and there was even hotels around it. And when I clicked on the map about the Mall of America, I noticed there's a Nickelodeon amusement park inside. I'm traveling. If I ever want to go back, I can get travel ideas with my exploration. My priority, of course, is to spend time with family, but at least I could have a mini adventure by myself. And I was prepping myself up by thinking this way. And then the next morning came, I got another email that my flight is delayed again. Not too bad. Instead of 9:15, it changed to 9:50, which knocks a little bit of my time in Minneapolis, but I was starting to get excited about. Oh well. Usually, you're able to check in 24 hours before departure, and I heard that in case of overbooking, it would be wise to check in online. Because if there is an overbooking, they might prioritize those that are already, checked in, technically. For some reason, I got an error message when I tried to check in. Maybe it was because of all the changes to my itinerary. So alas, I decided to go to the airport pretty early so that I could check in early. And then I approached the kiosk and began the check-in process. And one thing it's important to understand is that I was bringing a big bag, and it was pretty heavy because there was some stuff I intended to leave in America. I intended to not have as heavy of a bag on my way back, but going there, I had a pretty heavy bag. And I kind of regret that because I didn't know going there was going to be that much of a pain in the ass. Oh wait, there's more. It gets more. I've flown many times in my life, and usually my memories of checking in via kiosk was pretty easy. It was a breeze. Just scan your passport, enter your confirmation number, prints out your boarding pass on the spot. But this time was different. It was being more nosy. It required that I give contact information in America, which meant an American address and phone number. Is that a violation of my privacy? Right? 1984 is happening. Fortunately, I do have a somewhat recently acquired American phone number that I don't have memorized yet, since I do not live in the United States and I can't use it most of the time. So, hello. In preparation for my flight, I decided to turn off my American phone, just in case, so that I could save the precious battery for when I arrive in America. Then, because of this freaking kiosk, I had to dig out my phone from my bag and turn it on and wait for it to start up. That phone I have, it takes a long time to turn on after you turn it off. All right, here's my phone. I turned it off, and now I'm going to turn it on just to see how long it takes. And however long it takes now, just know that it took longer on the day that I'm talking about. Okay, it's off. I'm going to turn it on. See, it's still starting up. I just wanted to know what my phone number was. I hadn't used it in a long time. A very long time. So I actually got this phone in Hawaii in December. Okay. And I got like a really cheap prepaid plan. They don't really have these legit prepaid plans anymore where you can just buy minutes. You know, it's more like you have to do a recurring fee. There used to be like a track phone system where a lot of companies would just let you you know, pay a certain amount for the service really cheap just to keep the service on, and then you pay minutes and you only pay for the minutes you use. So this prepaid is like $10 a month just to keep some active service for when I'm in America. Okay? See, I just now I'm gonna unlock it. And unlocking it, it still takes time to start up. And this is what I'm doing in the airport with my big heavy backpack on my back. And yep, still starting up. It's not showing any apps yet. Is it taking time? It took longer on the day of. Okay, there we go. And now I can go into, then I have to go into settings. Okay, hurry up phone. See, it's slow. I had to go into settings and pull up my phone number. See, there's a settings button. Okay. And you get the idea. I had to dig out my phone from my bag, turn it on, wait for all that, yada, yada, yada. And okay, I was finally able to enter the information that I was supposed to enter. And then, at the bottom of the screen, a button read, "Click here to check in with no bags." Right. Click here to check in with no bags. That's not what I want to do. And that's awfully strange because it never gave me any option to declare that I wish to check my big old bag. I couldn't find any option on that screen anywhere. Another annoyance was that I had arrived so early that the usual Delta counters weren't being operated by Delta yet. I was at the correct section, but at that time, Korean Airlines and American Airlines were there instead, and workers from another airline were not able to help me with my specific Delta problems. So after some time hunting down someone who could help, the airport worker took me to a place that could check my bag, and finally I had some luck. On the bright side, Delta was giving all passengers a free hot meal consisting of teriyaki chicken at the gate, and I was grateful for that. I normally don't eat late at night, but it was early morning at my final destination, and I even drank an energy drink at nearly 10 p.m. just to prepare my circadian rhythm. Not sure if that was a good idea or not. I took melatonin on the flight, not really to sleep. I know I can't sleep no matter what I take, but I took it just to protect my brain from the radiation. The flight to Minneapolis was over 11 hours. Keep in mind, I departed at night and since I can't really sleep much on an airplane because you can't lay down. Sometimes I could just, nod off, but solid sleep is impossible. So for the most part, I was up all night. Still, as the flight was landing, I was getting ready to find and pounce on Delta Redcoat and demand my rights. But as soon as I got off the flight, I was looking for them. And there was no directions, because I was in America, there was no direction to go except to immigration. Then I picked up my bag, and I was in the baggage claim area of the airport near the exit. And there's no Delta Redcoat anywhere that I had to go to departures. I went upstairs, I went to the departures area, and then I spotted almost immediately a Delta worker wearing a red coat. So that must be what Delta Redcoat means. And I had checked my phone at this point, and while I was on the flight, I got an email from Delta, and they're like, "We are so sorry for the inconvenience of the delay. Therefore, we deposited a bonus 12,500 sky miles." And hey, sweet. At that point, I'm starting to forgive Delta a little. And I tried to look up how much is a sky mile worth. I think it's like $150 or something like that. But that would also mean to use those miles, I need to fly with them again. But the email continued. This gracious email that I'm grateful for. I'm grateful for those bonus points, but this email continues. If you have undergone any additional cost due to the delay, such as hotel expense, please email us your receipts for reimbursement. No. See, it just sounds like overall they really wanted me to book a hotel myself and then apply for a reimbursement. But so many other people from the exact same flight I just took were standing in line for a hotel voucher, which the Delta Redcoat told us that we can receive. So I'm standing there with all these other people that were on my flight, and one by one, people from the delayed flight were called to the counter, and they all seemed to be able to receive their voucher without significant problems. But when it was my turn, the lady took my information, looked at the computer, called over another worker, and said, that's strange. He's not in the system. Oh. The computer had this list of people who flew the same flight I was on and therefore qualified for a hotel voucher. So why the fuck was I not on that list? And I said, well, maybe they just don't like me. And, the workers laughed. And this isn't the first time that I mysteriously wasn't in systems that I was supposed to be in, despite not doing anything wrong. A few years ago, before all the COVID crap, I took a trip to Las Vegas. I went to a hotel that I booked on booking.com, and I had a confirmation number, and my credit card was already charged, and yet my reservation was nowhere to be found in their computer. They're like, whoa, who are you, right? When I showed up. So I had to show them my confirmation email and credit card statement. And then they gave me a room similar to the one I originally booked. And that was before I had an American phone, I had to do the Wi-Fi. I had to get the Wi-Fi and then log in and all this. Pain. So, back to my Delta story. There I was, not in the system, again, standing there, waiting with my big heavy backpack. The workers handed me over to the red shirt manager, and he manually entered me into the system. Then he asked for my American phone number and my email address, and I was finally able to select a hotel And that's another thing. He asked for my phone number, and I'm like, okay, my Japanese phone number or my American phone number? And he said American, and I no problems with that this time, right? Because I do have an American phone number now. You know, I pay $10 a month to keep an American number activated. But what if I didn't have it? Would I have not been able to get the voucher? Would I have had to get I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. Would he not have accepted? Because maybe he would have accepted the Japanese one. And I don't know why they need a number exactly, because I'm receiving an email to get the voucher. I hope I'm making myself clear. But anyway, back to the story. I chose the only hotel from the list which had an airport shuttle. And he said if I choose a hotel without a shuttle, I would receive a Lyft voucher. And I've never used Lyft before. I don't even have the app installed. Okay? So fuck no, I ain't messing with that. I'm not taking any chances. I just want to get to the hotel as soon as possible. And it was already nighttime in Minneapolis. Oh, and I also received a $15 meal voucher, which was a barcode with a prepaid card number linked to it. I wasn't sure how that worked. I kind of assumed I would be using it at the hotel, but that wasn't the case. So I took the shuttle and arrived at the hotel, checked in by showing the front desk the barcode I received from Delta. I reserved the airport shuttle the next day for 4 p.m., and the guy behind the counter told me that I can check out late at 1 p.m. And that was nice. My room was on the 5th floor. Lucky me. That's the highest floor. Not only that, it was also at the very end of the hallway. And after walking all the way, it was the very last room at the end of the hallway. And after walking down, I tapped the door with the card key, and it funnily flashed red and green. And, like, what is that supposed to mean? When I see any red color at all, or just a significant amount of red color, and half of the colors flashing was red. Half was red. That's a lot. That's a significant amount. That makes me think it's an error and it doesn't work. And I tapped the door and pushed it, but it didn't open. So with my heavy heart, I went all the way back down to the 1st floor, still lugging around my heavy luggage. Already, there were other people waiting in line to check in when I got there, so I knew that I wanted to tell him as soon as possible, so I needed to be assertive and just be like, interrupt, like, hey you, this key isn't working. And then they took my keys, reset them, and then said something like, oh, you need to keep the keys away from the phones. They deactivate them. I'm like, is it really that weak? Okay, I'll keep it far. So then I'm walking down the hall holding my card key like this, away from the phone, making damn sure it's away from the phone and that it's gonna work this time. I went all the way back up, tried again, and shockingly the door flashed red and green again. And I'm exhausted at this point, and I angrily pushed the door harder and it opened. So makes me feel pretty buffoon, because I think it actually did work the first time, and I just needed to push the door really hard. And for some reason, red and green are the normal colors for access granted for that door. So finally, I'm able to relax a bit. I got a pretty good night's sleep. He said that breakfast starts at 6:30 a.m. and I woke up early enough to get downstairs as soon as breakfast started. It probably wasn't the healthiest breakfast ever, but it was complimentary, so I felt obligated to take advantage of it. At first, I thought that the meal voucher was for the hotel breakfast, but nope, the breakfast was free. Another reason I got up early was to take advantage of the opportunity to explore the new place that I was in. It's a new state. So I've never been to even Minnesota, and I have a traveler spirit. I was a vagabond. I love that kind of stuff. And my time was limited, and I was really interested in the Mall of America. So right after breakfast, I walked over to the mall. Maybe it takes between 15 to 20 minutes. Google Maps told me that it takes 21 minutes, but I think it was slightly less than that because I walk faster than average, faster than the average obese American. All right, unexpected one-day layover in Minneapolis. So now I'm gonna check it out. This is the infamous Mall of America. Whatever that means. They got all kinds of crazy crap inside. And the one good point of my horrific flight schedule is that I have some time in a place I've never been before. Apparently there's like a Nickelodeon themed amusement park inside. I'm very interested in that. Well, here we go. Giant SpongeBob. Life, art of water. Indeed, water is life. Mall of America. Doesn't this big star kind of remind you of communism? They're all the same. Still very early. I guess Lyft is so popular here. I've been seeing Lyft signs everywhere. Like nobody uses Uber anymore. I thought Uber was a thing. I guess Lyft replaced it. And I got a hotel voucher, with a free shuttle pickup. But I had to choose from a list of hotels, and I chose one with a shuttle. And they said, oh, if it doesn't have a shuttle, you're gonna get like a Lyft voucher, which I thought was interesting. I'm gonna get a Lyft voucher, but not Uber voucher. The Museum of Illusions. Oh boy. Anyway, I had an interesting time at the mall, but unfortunately, when I got there, nothing was open. Like, the mall was open, but none of the shops were open. So I'm walking around a lot. God, I walked a lot that day. So many cool shops that I wanted to check out, but everything was closed. And according to Google, nothing opened until 10 or 11 a.m. I did finally manage to find one place that was open, Starbucks. So I went to Starbucks. Well, the mall's open, but most of the stuff in it is closed. I got up early because I have a flight today, and I wanted to just be a morning person and take advantage. I want to go in here. What time does it open? Oh my god. This looks so fun. Yeah, this was like the main thing I wanted to do. I wanted to do this, and I wanted to do the... Oh, I got a Patrick t-shirt. Fly America thing. Oh yeah. Even though I had slept reasonably well, I was still jet lagged after all, with sleep debt, surely, because I was pretty much up all night. And in Japan, it was the middle of the night, and just suddenly I just got hit by this wave of fatigue. So I went back to the hotel, attempted to take a nap, and I almost fell asleep a couple times, but I couldn't quite get there. I wasn't asleep enough to be considered asleep. Yeah, it's hard. it's hard to sleep when I know I should get up again in an hour or so. So I just got up, and somehow just laying there and resting, it made me feel better. So then I went back and I decided to check out just after 11 a.m. I left my luggage in the luggage room. I went to the mall again. This time it was lively and crowded and everybody's there. A lot more lively. So if and I spent a pretty fun day at the amusement park. I rode a total of 3 rides, but the last 2 rides I rode had lines longer than I expected, and since I had already bought ride tickets, I decided to call it close. Otherwise, it would have been a waste of money. And just finding out how to buy the tickets was a little hard, because they have this kiosk where you can buy tickets, but it doesn't let you pay in cash. They want you to be all digital now. Everything's digital, and I had to go find the place to buy it. But I did. I bought the ride tickets, and I needed to use them. And now remember, the airport shuttle leaves at 4 p.m., and I literally finished with the last ride at 3:45. literally finished with the last ride at 3:45. And I ran out of the mall after that. This ride I'm about to show you. It was fucking raining a little when I got outside. It wasn't raining when I entered, but it was raining now when I got outside. And I think I was really affected by the lack of sunlight on this trip because it was nighttime. I got on the plane all night, then I arrived and it was night, and then I get up the next day and it was just freaking cloudy. And then I take a flight again, and then I arrive somewhere again and it's night. So it's really all just screwing my condition. And I couldn't run as fast with the umbrella open. So sometimes I closed it and I got a little wet. And I arrived just in the nick of time. But the airport shuttle driver was running late. So I didn't technically need to run, but there's no way I could have known that. So I needed to run for peace of mind. But he was running late, and then a little later he called in sick. And I needed to wait until 4:20, which was 2 hours before my flight, and I was getting antsy. I even downloaded the freaking Lyft app while I was waiting, just in case, but fortunately, another worker was able to drive me. And after arriving at the airport and going through security, which wasn't totally well, because I forgot to take my Kindle out. But anyway, I needed to use my meal voucher, and my diet had been, a little irregular during this trip, so I decided to seek out something healthy because I felt like I needed it. So regardless of the cost, I wanted something healthy. And the first place I see is like an organic cafe in the airport. They sold so many salads with no price tag on them. So I picked one, and I picked this one, which had kale, guacamole, brown rice, hummus, and some kind of lemony sauce. Now, I expected it to be expensive because it's organic and it's in an airport. But how expensive? I used my $15 voucher and still had to pay $4.61. In case you are bad at math, that means that particular salad cost $19.61. Thankfully, that voucher saved me so much money. It was very filling because of the fiber especially. And that is my story for the most part. Nothing too bad happened after that. I arrived at Oklahoma City. My mom picked me up and drove me to Kansas. And it was late night by the time we arrived. And I met and spent time with more family. And I was exhausted because I stayed up late the first night. It was a rough trip. The whole trip was rough overall because it started out really rough. And I needed to recover. But I was also busy at the same time trying to complete my to-do list for America. And I was in America for about 1 week. After I arrived in Kansas, I think I was fighting something that might have been activated by the stress of my previous couple days. Because I started to lose my voice and I didn't get completely sick, but I felt a little off and my voice was not normal the entire time I was there. And just when it started to go back to normal, it was time for me to leave again. Oh. And my flight back was much better, but not perfect. My connecting flight in Minneapolis was delayed on the way back, by the way, but not overnight. So I spent 6 hours or so at the Minneapolis airport. But I'm not criticizing at all. That's probably not Delta's fault. And then suddenly, Delta emailed me another $15 food voucher, which I absolutely appreciate. But they sent it maybe 2 or 3 hours after I arrived at the Minneapolis airport. And I had already been walking around spending money because I was bored, and I had already mostly been spending money on snacks. But nevertheless, no problem because I bought more high quality snacks with that voucher and I brought them back with me. So, yes, Delta did some nice things. However, the nice things that they did are nice things that they do for everybody. And probably most of the other major airlines are doing those nice things too. You see what I mean? So, how much how much of a choice does Delta have but to offer reimbursement of some kind? Still, I feel like the whole system was a pain in the ass, particularly for me. And in conclusion, I arrived back in Japan Sunday evening and went back to work on Monday.